Hello, welcome to my channel. So in the previous video, we learned about creating the onboarding experience for the Pawsome app that I'm designing right now. We also learned how to create 3D micro interactions in this design. So I highly suggest you watch that tutorial first before continuing with this one, because we're going to continue and design further from where we left off in the previous video. All right, so let's begin. Before continuing with the design, I wanted to share the research that I've done for this project so that you have an idea about where I'm coming from. So, as more North Americans are projected to adopt pets in the next 10 years, there's a growing gap in the market for ease of purchasing pet products and lack of awareness of the adoption process among the demographic. The market research that I did was that almost 87 million families own a pet in the United States, and close to 7 million families in Canada at least own a pet. Now, the animals adopted from shelters every year across North America is 3.2 million pets, but there is only a 5% increase in adoption relative to the shelter pet intake since 2011. So the trend has been really slow, and that's why I wanted to create this app to create more awareness. The business goal is to cater to the growing pet industry in the North America, increase awareness about adoption, facilitate and provide easy solutions to customers. There's some competition in this area, and so here are a few competitive apps. For one of which is Pet Finder. This app helps users find pets for adoption. Another app is called Pet Smart. This is a shopping app for pet products. Another app is Good Pup. It is a virtual pet training app provided by certified trainers. Users can have video sessions with trainers to train their pets. The downside of this app is that it's a paid service which has weekly or training based video sessions. I did a survey, and the results I got back from that survey are shown on the screen over here. The survey actually contained a few questions, and the best results or the majority of the answers are on the screen that you can see over here. The questions range from what the age group of the demographic is, what the income range is, how many number of pets they currently have, what's their comfort level with technology, what's the pros and cons of using multiple pet apps, what problems they faced using technology to raise pets, and so forth. So based on the survey results, I created some personas, which I'm going to share with you over here. Sarah is a 26-year-old administrative assistant from Toronto, Ontario, and she is a dog owner since 2018. Another persona is James, who is a 29-year-old school teacher from San Diego, California. He is a potential pet adopter. Now, Jenny is a 36-year-old mother of 3 kids from Austin, Texas. They have a dog since 2017. Now, you might see that these pictures are a bit pixelated because I used a plugin called UI Faces. And in that plugin, I actually used the photos where these people do not actually really exist. I didn't want to, invade on somebody's privacy by including their photos. So I used the photos of people who do not exist yet. Just a side note. I created a storyboard to show you guys the process or the typical process for pet adoption. Let's say Sarah wants to adopt a dog. She calls the local adoption agency. She checks out the available dogs for adoption in the list. And once she is happy with which one she wants to adopt, she fills an application to adopt the dog. Now, the agency runs a background check on Sarah and to find if the pet the pet and the family would be a great fit. And after approval, Sarah becomes really happy to learn that she can bring the dog home. So you can also create such kind of scenarios to better understand what your customer's journey would be like. Moving ahead, I built the information architecture from the cart sorting. And so below are the two groups of items that I created from the open-ended online cart sorting exercise performed by 15 participants for the project. And so based on this cart sorting exercise, here is the information architecture that I built. Now we are going to follow this architecture when we are designing this app. All right, so now let's get started with the design. All right, so if you haven't downloaded this XD file yet, the link is in the description, so you can download the file and follow along with this tutorial. Today we're going to continue with the design that we did earlier. And so on this registration screen, when the user wants to register with the Pawsome app, when they enter their details and click on this register button finally to create an account, we want to show a micro interaction, like a really nice one, to confirm to the user that their data is successfully been gathered and their account has been created. All right, so let's get started. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a few copies of this screen. All right, so 4 to be precise. All right, so now all we are going to do is make some changes to this button over here, and that's all our animation is going to uh, contain. So firstly, I'm going to turn this register button into a component. I'm going to right click and make component. And now over here on the properties panel, I'm going to add a hover state for this button. I'm going to name it hover state. I'm going to keep it like that. And so having hover state selected, what I'm going to do is actually going to change some properties of this rectangle. So when the user hovers over this button, the background changes, and I also want the text to be white and not black, so that's going to change as well. So that's what we'll see when we actually hover over the registration button. All right, so everything else I'm going to keep it the same. Okay, so now, oh, actually I'm just going to delete these screens because I want to create a duplicate after I've made this component. So I'm going to go back to the default state over here and then press Alt and just drag this artboard over here so I can create a copy. I'm going to do this a couple more times. All right. So now this is the main artboard that the user will see when they are creating their account. So when the user clicks on this one, we come to this artboard. So what I want to do is actually just play with the border of this button. So going back to the hover state, so you see this over here, I want to create a smooth animation for this border. And the way we can do that is using the latest update in Adobe XD. So make sure you have the latest version of Adobe XD. And you see these dash and gaps over here. That's what we're going to animate. So I'm going to give this about 200 pixels for the dash so I can see 2 lines over here. And I'm going to arrange the gap so that I can see 2 lines like so. All right, so that looks good. You can actually play around with this number in your designs. How it works is this border actually runs through. You can actually think about it as the pixels, the length of the pixels, the length in pixels, I'm sorry. And so depending on the size of the rectangle that you're using, the number for the dash and the gaps can change for your screen as well. So just play around with that until you're happy with what you see. All right, so when the user clicks on this one, I want to animate the border. And so from this one, actually going on to the next artboard, and I'm going to just keep the same thing. So I want to actually transition from white background to this one and then back again over here. But now we're going to change over here. We're going to change something over here. And so keeping the hover state, I'm going to expand this and change the rectangle's dimensions. I'm going to make it a perfect square, which is 64 by 64. And then I'm going to change the fill color to white. And now I'm just going to shrink this text because we don't need that anymore. So just where the text is entirely inside the circle, and I'm going to reduce the transparency. Now I want to use an icon, so I'm going to use this plugin, Icons for Design. Just bringing this and there it is. This plugin is a bit tricky because it adds those icons to the corner of the pages or the artboard. So just make sure you find where where your icon shows up. So I have this in place now. I'm just going to position it in the center. All right. Just going to copy this over here and keep it in the center, but reduce the opacity all the way down so that it's going to show in the animation. All right. So that's what we have over here. Let me just delete that, create a copy. All right. And now we want the button. So after showing the check mark that the registration process is successful, we want this button to expand and take over the entire screen so as to create that flashy animation and later take the user to the home screen of the app, which we're going to design in the next video. So what I'm going to do is have this selected, select the rectangle inside that component and just increase the size of that. You can move it and arrange it. And then I'm just going to reduce this opacity. All right, so that's how it's going to look like. And I'm just quickly going into prototype tab and then just prototype the entire animation. So we're going to create some links over here. So, so I'm going to add a link on the hover state. So when the user has their finger over there on this button and they click over here, it should take them onto this artboard. And I'm going to keep the type as auto animate. I'm going to change the duration to 1 second. All right. And now that's all the user has to do actually. And all the rest of the animations are going to be time based. And so I'm going to change this to time and I'm going to add just a little bit of a delay onto this one. And then coming on to the next one, the same stuff over here. Coming on to this one. So now from the check mark over here, the success check mark, I want to transition into this artboard really quickly. So I'm going to change the transition or the duration of this animation to 0.4 seconds. And I see that I have an extra animation over here, which I'm going to remove from that as well. Okay. All right, I'm going to quickly save the progress and we're going to check how it looks like. I forgot to do one thing, which is on the main screen over here, the user should see the default state. So with this artboard selected, click on the play button and there you are. So I hover over here, click on this, and there you go. So you got the success message, and then now you see this flash on the screen, and that's going to take the user to the home screen. I'm going to play it one more time. All right. I'm just going to make a few minor changes to the prototype that I made. All right. Let's view it again. Let's view the entire flow from the beginning. Now again, so if you haven't seen this tutorial, click on the link in the description so you can follow along with this tutorial and learn about the 3D transitions like you see over here. So fluid. Wonderful. So this was a quick tutorial for today. We're going to continue in the next video. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and follow along with this tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.